My name's Ethan. I'm 45, been married to Vanessa for years now. She's 42 and we live with her daughter, my stepdaughter, Lily, who just turned 20. We've been together for a little over 11 years. And you spend that much time with someone thinking you've built something solid. You fall into a rhythm, inside jokes, spontaneous dinner plans, and those subtle looks across the room that say we're still in sync. At least, that's what I thought we had. Turns out I was way off. Funny how guys are always the last to know, huh? We walk around thinking everything's fine until it's not. Until something blindsides you like a sucker punch to the back of the head. And the crazy part? It all started with something so small. Something ridiculously small. I was cleaning out the garage last month, just trying to clear out space for the new lawnmower I bought. You'd think after living somewhere 8 years, you'd have some kind of system, right? Nope. It's unreal how much crap can pile up in a 2-car garage without you even noticing. Boxes everywhere. A few with labels, most of them a complete mystery. Tangled Christmas lights like they were fighting each other. A sad, half-deflated air mattress I vaguely remember cursing out one camping trip. Lily's old booster seat collecting dust in the corner. An unopened popcorn maker, I think it was a wedding gift. Probably ours. Anyway, I was knee-deep in all this stuff when I spotted it. A worn-out suitcase wedged behind some shelving. Vanessa's. I remembered it from when we first moved in together. Beige, scratched-up leather. One of those vintage ones people overpay for now. I figured it was packed with old clothes or stuff she meant to donate and just never got around to. Nothing worth thinking twice about. I plopped down on a crate, wiped the sweat from my brow with my forearm, and unzipped it. At first, it looked innocent enough, just a bunch of random keepsakes. Keychains, postcards, tiny snow globes, matchbooks from restaurants, coasters from bars. The kind of stuff people collect on trips. Souvenirs. Some were still wrapped. I picked up a little Eiffel Tower keychain. Paris? I muttered, flipping it over in my hand. Thing is, I couldn't recall Vanessa ever saying she'd been to Paris. I kept digging. A postcard from Lisbon. A fridge magnet from Vienna. A coaster from a jazz club in New Orleans. A neatly folded napkin from a tapas spot in Barcelona. Vanessa travels a lot. Her job in pharma has her flying out for conferences and trainings all the time. I never questioned it. Why would I? She'd text me from her hotel, maybe give me a call. Same routine every time. Wish you were here? Sweet? Normal. She'd even bring back little gifts now and then. A mug with a weird joke, flamingo socks. Silly stuff. But here's the kicker, none of those cities ever came up. Not once. I remember standing there, just staring at that suitcase like it was gonna give me answers if I looked hard enough. Later that night, she was in the kitchen, pouring herself a glass of wine. I figured I'd test the waters. Keep it casual. I leaned on the counter and asked, "Hey babe, you ever been to Paris?" She glanced up, brows pinching slightly. Paris? No, why? I shrugged, playing it cool. Found a keychain while I was cleaning. Thought maybe it was from one of your trips. She sipped her wine, smiled, and said, must have been someone else's. My sister, maybe? She went years ago. And sure, that would have added up. Except her sister's more of a Cancun and cocktails kinda traveler. Not one for cobblestone streets and art museums. Still, I let it slide. Then I threw out a couple more names, Lisbon. Vienna. This time her smile wobbled just a bit. Barely noticeable, but I caught it. She let out a little laugh. What is this, the geography pop quiz? I laughed along, but something inside me shifted. Cold. Tight. Just curious, I said. You travel a lot, I figured maybe you mentioned them before, and I forgot. She brushed it off, kissed me on the cheek, and walked past. You know my trips are all hotel lobbies and PowerPoint decks, she said over her shoulder. Nothing fancy. Yeah, I muttered. PowerPoints and paradise. She didn't laugh. Later that night, I went back to the garage. Opened the suitcase again. This time, I noticed a few postcards had notes scribbled on them. No names, no addresses. Just short messages. One read, best risotto I've ever had. Wish I could bottle this night. It wasn't much. But it wasn't nothing either. And that's when my stomach started to twist. Now, I wish I could say I confronted her right then and there. That I had the guts to walk back into that kitchen, pour myself a cup of coffee, sit her down, and ask, who the hell is Blake? But I didn't. Instead, I did what scared men do best, I started digging. And what I uncovered next? It made that suitcase look like a bedtime story. I kept telling myself I was just trying to make sense of it all. That maybe the suitcase meant nothing. The souvenirs could have been gifts from coworkers or things she picked up during layovers she didn't think were worth mentioning. But the truth was already clawing at my insides. The moment I opened that suitcase, something deep in my gut started sounding the alarm. Loud and unrelenting. So that night, while Vanessa lay beside me, sleeping easy, breathing steady like someone with nothing to hide, I grabbed my phone. I logged into her email. Yeah, I know. It's not right. But after 10 years of marriage, we knew each other's passwords. I didn't have to guess. A few taps and I was in. At first, everything looked normal. Routine work messages. Itinerary confirmations from her travel agent. Conference reminders. Newsletters from the pharmaceutical company. All the dry stuff you'd expect. Then I typed in his name, Blake. A few hits popped up and at first, they seemed harmless. He worked in the same field. I vaguely remembered her bringing him up once or twice in passing. Nothing that stood out. The emails started out professional, industry talk, dry jokes about boring speakers, a couple of shared articles. But soon, the vibe began to change. Little things at first. A casual, don't forget the wine this time, here. A cheeky, still dreaming about that risotto, there. And then I saw it. You looked incredible in that blue thong. Still stuck in my head. That line stopped me cold. My thumb hovered in place, like even it didn't know what to do next. I clicked into more emails, every one pulling me deeper into a spiral I couldn't stop, didn't want to stop. Not yet. There were jokes I didn't get, places I'd never heard her mention. Shared photos, lunches that might have been more than just lunch. Specific dates. Dates that lined up with her so-called work trips. Messages like, can't wait to see you next month. Same hotel? Or, those 3 days flew by. Let's not wait so long next time. I just sat there, staring at the screen, my thumb frozen mid-scroll. My heart was thudding in my chest, but the rest of me was locked up. Like I was floating outside my body, watching some poor guy discover the worst kind of truth. But I couldn't stop. I didn't want to. I needed to know how deep it went. The next day, while Vanessa was out running errands, I opened up our shared credit card account. Told myself it was for closure. Peace of mind. But then the charges started showing up. Restaurants I'd never heard of. Upscale spots in Orlando. A jazz lounge. A fancy rooftop wine bar. Vanessa had never once said a word about Orlando. Not for work. Not for travel. Nothing. And then came the hotel bookings. Some were under her full name. Others under V. Holloway, her maiden name. Same dates as the emails. Same lies, dressed in different clothes. I felt like throwing up. I wanted to stop, but something inside me wouldn't let go. I kept thinking maybe I'd find one little piece that would make it all make sense. Like maybe this was just some massive misunderstanding. I even went as far as calling her office. Told them I was from the IT department doing a routine security audit after a made-up data breach. Desperate men get creative. The woman who answered, Karen, I think sounded skeptical, but I guess I was convincing enough. She ended up emailing me Vanessa's official travel log for the past year. I stared at that damn spreadsheet until the lines started to blur. I lined up every date. The hotels. The emails. The credit card swipes. And the lies stacked up fast. Turns out half of Vanessa's work trips over the last 6 years were complete fiction. No seminars. No networking events. No continuing education. Just Blake. They'd met at a legit conference, that much I could piece together. It was in San Diego 5, maybe 6 years ago. I remember her going. She even sent me a group photo from the event, her and a bunch of coworkers all smiling, wearing name tags and holding branded tote bags. I bet Blake was just outside the frame. Or hell, maybe he was the one holding the camera. What started as a typical industry connection, grab a drink, joke about the keynote speaker, turned into something else. They stayed in touch. Emails. Calls. Quiet little check-ins when I thought she was out on a walk or stuck in some boring meeting. And then it grew into something more. She was cheating on me. With Blake. And every time I thought she was in Chicago or Boston or San Francisco for work, she might have just been in his arms. Laughing at some inside joke. Lying to me with a straight face. Her job gave her the perfect excuse. Travel was expected. Normal. Even admirable. I never suspected a thing. I was proud of her, damn it. Proud of her career, her drive, her discipline. But underneath all that pride was a fool who never saw it coming. People respected her. I mean really respected her in her field. She'd built this image, smart, driven, professional. The kind of woman who had it all together. And yet, what shattered me more than anything was discovering Lily knew. I wasn't even looking for that. I just stumbled on the texts buried deep in Vanessa's cloud backups, probably synced by accident or maybe just sloppiness. Messages between mother and daughter. Vanessa had been coaching her, telling Lily exactly what to say if I ever started asking questions. Things like, tell Ethan I called this morning if he asks. Or, remember I'm supposed to be in Houston, not Atlanta. And then, thanks for covering, sweetie. I owe you. I just sat there, staring at the screen, hoping my eyes were playing tricks on me. Praying there was some other reason. But it was all laid out in plain text. No way around it. Lily, this girl I'd helped raise since she was 8, had been in on it. She hadn't just known, she'd helped cover it up. For years. We weren't blood, but she was mine in every way that counted. We'd played card games together. She'd clung to me at school functions. I called her kiddo. She called me dad. And all this time, she'd been helping her mom cheat. I couldn't stop thinking about this one night, maybe a year back. Vanessa was out of town again. I was making pasta, stirring sauce in the kitchen. Lily walked in, tossed her phone on the counter, and said, "Mom says hi. She's running late but will call tonight." I smiled and said, "Tell her to bring back those weird cookies I like from the minibar." Lily just grinned. Like it was the most normal thing in the world. Now I can't stop wondering, was Vanessa with Blake that night? Were they laughing over wine while I was home playing family man? The week that followed was straight up hell. I barely slept. Couldn't eat. Couldn't function. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw her, Vanessa, laughing at something Blake said. Heard her whispering pet names she never used on me. Every memory felt dirty. Twisted. And I had to pretend. Pretend everything was fine. Pretend I hadn't uncovered the rot under the floorboards of my life. Because I wasn't ready, not yet. I needed time. I needed clarity. I needed to figure out what came next before I tore our whole world apart. That week, she said she had another work trip. Tampa, supposedly. I watched her pack. Neatly folding her slacks, sliding in her curling iron, zipping up the case. Like she'd done 100 times before. She kissed me on the cheek and said, "Wish me luck." I managed a smile. "Break a leg at your panel," I replied. She laughed. "It's just a mixer, but thanks." And then she got into her Uber and drove away while I stood at the door like a fool, waving goodbye. And all I could think was, how many times has this happened? How many suitcases packed with care? How many goodbye kisses given to me right before she went to kiss him? That thought hit me like a gut punch when I least expected it, doing the dishes, brushing my teeth, sitting in traffic. And Lily. Jesus, Lily. I was there for everything. When she got her first period and didn't want to talk to Vanessa, I was the one who ran to the store for pads and ice cream. I taught her to parallel park behind the high school. Helped polish her college essays. Hugged her tight when she got accepted into state. And now I question every single one of those moments. Were they real? Or just part of the act? Just more smoke and mirrors to keep me in the dark? I felt like I was being set on fire from the inside out. My marriage, my family, my home, it was all just one big performance. And I was the idiot clapping from the front row, not realizing I was the punchline. I wanted to confront them. Both of them. The moment Vanessa walked through that door, I wanted to let loose. But I didn't. I held back. I needed a plan. I needed control. So I bided my time. I played along. I smiled when she smiled. I said I love you when she said it first. I let Lily hug me even though every dad out of her mouth felt like a knife against my skin. Every single day was another splinter under my nails. Another crack in a dam ready to burst. Then, 3 days after Vanessa got back, I finally snapped. I couldn't wait anymore. Lily was out with friends, thank God. I wasn't ready to face them both. Vanessa was in the kitchen, humming to herself, pouring a glass of wine like it was just another Thursday evening. Like she wasn't living a double life. I stood in the doorway for a second, watching her. My wife. The woman I thought I knew better than anyone on this planet. She turned and smiled. "Hey, you okay? You've been kind of quiet today." My heart was jackhammering in my chest. But I crossed the room, slow and steady. "Vanessa," I said. My voice sounded calm, too calm probably. She looked up, brows pinched with concern. "Yeah?" I motioned toward the living room. "We need to talk." And that's when I saw it. That flicker in her eyes. First confusion, then fear. She knew, and I was finally ready to hear the lies fall apart. That look on her face. It was like a deer caught in headlights, realizing it's already too far into the road to turn back. She tried to cover it up with a shaky smile. "Ethan, is everything okay?" I laughed. Didn't mean to. It just slipped out, harsh and bitter. Like all the rot I'd been holding in finally forced its way to the surface. I shook my head, barely believing she could ask something so absurd. "No, Vanessa. Everything is not okay." She stepped back, her wine glass trembling in her hand like it wanted to shatter on its own. "What are you talking about?" I walked past her and dropped onto the couch. Couldn't stand under the weight of it all anymore. I looked up at her and said it clearly, like I'd rehearsed every word in my head 100 times. I know about Blake. The glass hit the counter with a loud crack. Maybe she dropped it. Maybe she just set it down too fast. Either way, the sound echoed through the room, followed by pure silence. Her face drained of color. It was like someone yanked the plug on her soul. Her mouth opened slightly, ready to spin some tale, to pull out the lies she'd been saving for this exact moment. But I didn't give her the chance. I laid it all out, one thing after another. The emails, the flights, the hotels, the receipts, the damn lies. Each one, another nail in the coffin of what I thought was real between us. She didn't deny any of it, didn't fight back, just stood there, until her knees buckled and she sat down slow and heavy. Then she started crying. Now, I'd seen her cry before, plenty of times, during sad movies, at her father's funeral, when Lily graduated. But not like this. Not like this. This was different. This was broken. Mascara streaked down her face. Her lips quivered. Her whole body shook. And for a second, just a second, my old instincts kicked in. That part of me that wanted to reach out, to wrap my arms around her and make it stop. But I didn't move. I sat there with my hands clenched in my lap. That part of me didn't get a say anymore. Then came the words, croaked out between sobs. I'm sorry, Ethan. I didn't mean for it to last this long. She wiped her face, still shaking. I love you. I really do. But I have feelings for Blake too. I'm confused. I didn't know how to end it. I didn't know how to tell you. I stared at her. Watching her fall apart didn't make me feel better. But it did give me clarity. She was trying to justify betrayal. Trying to explain how you can still love someone while stabbing them in the back. If he's the one you want, I said quietly, go be with him. She flinched at that, wiped at her eyes with the sleeve of her cardigan. It's not that simple. How long? I asked. My voice was cold now. How long has this been going on, Vanessa? How much of our life was a lie? She looked down, took a breath like it hurt to breathe. 5 years, she whispered. Felt like someone kicked me in the ribs. 5 years. That's half of our marriage. Gone. Just like that. Spent somewhere else. Given to someone else. But it wasn't always physical, she rushed to add. Like that was supposed to make it easier. At first, we were just friends. We talked. That was all. Right? Friends. Who book hotel rooms. Who lie about conferences. Who leave behind keychains from cities they never told their husband they visited. I stared at the carpet, trying to breathe through the rage boiling just under the surface. Then I asked the question I really didn't want the answer to. And Lily? How long has she known? Vanessa's eyes widened, her mouth parting just slightly. She looked ready to lie, but then her gaze dropped, and guilt took over. 3 years, she said quietly. She saw a message once. I left my phone on the counter. She asked about it. I clenched my jaw so tight it ached. Vanessa went on, her voice shaking. I begged her not to tell you. I told her I was going to end it. I really was. But you didn't. She winced. I tried, she whispered. I swear I did. But it got complicated. Complicated. I snapped, standing now, the fury rising up in my throat. You coached my daughter to lie to me. You dragged her into this mess. You made her a part of your betrayal? And you're calling it complicated. She didn't respond. Her face crumbled like wet paper. I couldn't hear another word. I took a step back, shaking my head slowly, wishing I could rewind the clock, unsee what I'd seen, unknow what I now knew. I want you out of this house, I said, my voice firm, cold. Go stay with your sister. She gasped like I'd stabbed her. Ethan, no. Please. We can fix this. I'll end it with Blake. For real this time. But I'd already made my decision. Because sometimes the only way to fix something is to let it break. I'll do anything, she cried. Of course she would. They all say that when it finally hits them. She was on her knees now, tears pouring down, hands pressed together like she thought I was some kind of savior sent to forgive her sins. Please don't throw away 10 years of marriage, she begged. And I laughed, but not the kind of laugh that comes from humor. It was cold, sharp, bitter. Like something sour that had been festering inside me finally made its way out. You threw it away, I said, steady but firm. Every time you lied to me. Every kiss goodbye before you ran off to him. That was you, Vanessa. Not me. She kept trying. Throwing out words, something about counseling, about Lily, about starting over. But I wasn't listening anymore. I'd already made up my mind. I climbed the stairs like a man on a mission and grabbed the suitcase, the same one she always used for her so-called business trips, and started shoving in clothes. Didn't care what. I just grabbed whatever I could find and stuffed it inside. No folding. No thought. Just motion. When I came back downstairs, she was still sobbing, curled up on the couch like a kid who'd been told no for the first time in her life. I dropped the suitcase in front of her. Get out. She looked up stunned, like she didn't believe what she'd just heard. But I wasn't waiting for a response. I turned and walked to the window, staring out into the darkness, trying to keep myself from unraveling. A few seconds passed. Then I heard it, the door opening and closing. And just like that, she was gone. It hit me harder than I expected. My knees buckled right there in the entryway, and I collapsed onto the floor, buried my face in my hands. And I cried. Not quiet tears. Not a single manly drop down the cheek. I'm talking full body, gut-wrenching sobs that tore out of me like they'd been bottled up for years. I cried for the woman I thought I knew. For the life we were building. For the future I thought was still ahead of us. But Vanessa was only half the storm. The next wave was Lily. And in some ways, facing her was even worse. She came home the next afternoon, laughing to herself, chatting about how much fun she'd had out with her friends. Tossed her shoes by the door like everything was normal. She had no idea. No idea that the man standing in the kitchen doorway wasn't the same one who hugged her goodbye yesterday. Something in me had changed, and I couldn't go back. I waited, let her eat dinner, let her hum her song while she rinsed her plate. And I just stood there watching her, wondering how many times she looked me in the eye while protecting her mom's lies. I couldn't carry it anymore. Lily, I said quietly, keeping my voice calm, steady. We need to talk. She turned around, carefree, eyes wide and open. What's up? Your mom's staying at your aunt's for a while. Her smile faded. Confusion crept in. What? Why? What happened? I took a breath. I know about Blake. Her body stiffened like a wire just snapped inside her. I kept going. I know you've been covering for her. For 2 years. Her face crumbled right in front of me. Eyes wide. Mouth opening. And then the tears came. Fast. I'm so sorry, she said, already choking on the words. I didn't know what to do. Mom told me not to say anything. She said she'd stop. She promised it would ruin everything if you found out. And you believed her? My voice cracked. I couldn't hold that part in. For 3 years, Lily, you looked me in the eye every day. And lied. She stepped closer, crying harder, her arms outstretched like she thought I might still catch her. I didn't want to lose you, she sobbed. You've been there for me since I was 8. You're my dad. I don't care about DNA, you're my dad. And God, that nearly shattered me. Almost. Part of me wanted to pull her in. Hold her like I used to when she was younger, when life was simpler and a scraped knee was the worst pain in the world. But I couldn't. Because now every look reminded me of the secrets. Every hug felt like a lie. And all those nights she whispered, "Love you, Dad," felt scripted. Rehearsed. I need you to pack your things, I said, my voice low. You're going to stay with your mom. At your aunt's place. Her face went pale. What? No. Ethan, please. Don't make me go. I want to stay here. With you. She stepped closer, arms trembling, tears falling faster. I'm sorry. I swear I didn't mean to hurt you. But I didn't move. You should have thought about that before you lied. For 2 years. My voice wavered. My throat burned. But this time I didn't back down. Because forgiveness has its limits. And I had finally reached mine. I can't even look at you right now without a... I had to stop. Swallowed hard, forcing the words through the tightness in my throat. Without feeling completely betrayed. My voice came out flat. Hollow. Like someone else was speaking through me. I didn't even recognize the sound of it. Lily stood frozen in the hallway, her suitcase by her feet. Her face was a mess, tears, red eyes, and streaks of snot. She looked gutted, like I'd just ripped her heart out. Her hands trembled. Then she turned and ran upstairs, crying harder with every step. I heard drawers flying open. Footsteps pacing. Muffled sobs breaking through her door. And God, I hated it. Hated that this was happening. Hated that it had come to this. But I hated the lies more. 20 minutes later, she came back down. Her backpack slung over one shoulder and that little pink duffel bag clutched in her hand, the same one she used for sleepovers when she was in middle school. "Please," she whispered, her eyes swollen and glossy. "I love you, Dad. Please don't do this." That word, Dad, hit me like a sucker punch. I almost caved. Almost told her to drop the bag. Almost told her to stay and we'd figure it out. But I didn't. Because every memory I reached for, birthday parties, movie nights, late-night talks about boys or school, every single one was tainted now. Tainted by what she knew. By what she hid. "Go," I said. My voice cracked, but I didn't waver. She hesitated, then turned and walked out the door. The wheels of her suitcase thumped down the steps like a slow, cruel metronome. When the door clicked shut behind her, I just stood there, staring at the emptiness she left behind. Eventually, I sat down on the couch. The same spot where she used to curl up next to me under a blanket while we watched Pixar movies. I sat there until the sky outside turned black and the quiet filled every corner of the house. The next morning I was at the bank. I hadn't planned on it. I hadn't slept. My veins were pumping caffeine, heartbreak, and rage. That's all. I walked straight to the counter and said, "I want to pull all the money from our joint account." The teller looked up surprised. "You know we'll need both account holders to close it, right?" "I'm not closing it," I said. "I'm withdrawing." "All of it?" she asked. "Yes. All of it." She hesitated, then typed something into her computer. "That's $841,920.55. I nodded. "I know." Was it legal? Probably not without a process. Did I care? Not one bit. Half of that money was mine. And after everything Vanessa did, the lies, the gaslighting, the months and years of pretending, I figured she owed me that much. I moved it all into a new account. My name only. No ties. No backdoor access. For once, something was mine. Something untouched by betrayal. 2 weeks have passed. Vanessa's family hasn't stopped blowing up my phone. Texts. Missed calls. Voicemails that go on for minutes. Her sister left a 4-minute message calling me a heartless bastard. Said I was cruel for kicking Lily out. That I was destroying a child just to hurt Vanessa. Like Lily didn't know. Like she hadn't been part of the cover-up. So I sent a reply of my own. Told her she was an ignorant bitch having a hormone-fueled meltdown. Added that Lily wasn't a child, she knew exactly what her cheating mother was doing. And she helped. So maybe she should shut up and schedule some hormone therapy. Vanessa's parents, people who once called me their son, are now threatening legal action. Over the money. Over Lily. They're saying I've gone too far. That I'm being spiteful. Vengeful. I replied with 5 words, "Thanks for the kindness." Screw you. Even some of my old friends, guys I've known since college, have started pulling back. Telling me I went too far. That maybe Lily didn't deserve to be thrown out. That maybe emptying the bank account was excessive. They tell me I'm letting my anger make decisions I'll regret. That I'm punishing a teenager for an adult's betrayal. That I should step back. Take a breath. Calm down. But I can't calm down. Not yet. This wasn't some drunken slip-up. This wasn't a one-night mistake. This was 5 years of intentional deceit. 2 years of hearing "I love you, Dad" from someone who was hiding the biggest betrayal of my life. They say I'm being too harsh. But what else was I supposed to do? Just sit there and take it? Vanessa and Lily didn't just lie. They lived the lie. Every dinner. Every movie night. Every hug and every "I love you." All said with straight faces while burying the truth deeper and deeper. Tell me, how do you come back from that? So yeah, maybe I'm being cold. Maybe I'm acting harsh. But after everything? They lied. They lied so easily. For so long. And now I don't even know what to believe anymore. Every day feels like I'm stuck in a loop. Same thoughts. Same doubts. Same rewind button playing old memories over and over, like I'm trying to find the moment everything broke and I just didn't notice. And I keep asking myself the same questions on a loop. Was I too hard on them? Should I have tried to work things out with Vanessa? Was cutting Lily off, especially right before her sophomore year, going too far? There are no answers. Just questions. Heavy, endless questions that don't let me sleep. When I close my eyes, I see Vanessa. Her smile while she stirred pasta on the stove. The way her hand would find mine under the dinner table. Her sleepy good night, babe, before rolling over. And now I wonder, was all of that real? Were those business trips just meetings and conferences? Or were they rendezvous with Blake? Were the late-night client calls really just phone sex behind my back? Was he there when she sent me that beach photo? Or the one from the cabin with the morning mountain view? Did she frame those shots just right so I wouldn't see him? And what about the souvenirs she brought back? The quirky gifts, the mugs, the socks. Were they ever really for me? Or were they pity presents? Last-minute purchases from some airport kiosk just to keep me from asking questions? There was this one mug from Santa Fe, a ceramic one with a painted horse. She said she thought of me the second she saw it. Now I wonder if she grabbed it without even looking. Just something to hide the guilt in her carry-on. And then there's Lily. That's where it cuts deepest. I can't stop thinking about the little moments, the kind that make up a life. Teaching her how to ride her bike when she was too scared to go down the hill. Running lines with her before her 5th grade play. Screaming on the sidelines at her soccer games. Holding her while she sobbed over a dumb 9th grade boy who broke up with her over text. I still remember what I said to her that night. Any guy who makes you feel small doesn't deserve you. She looked up at me with those tear-filled eyes like I was the only truth in the world. I helped her move into her dorm just last year. Hauled boxes up 4 flights of stairs while she laughed and told me I was doing too much. We grabbed burgers after. She hugged me tight in that parking lot and said, "Love you, Dad. Thanks for everything." Was she thinking about the lie in that moment? Did she feel even the slightest bit of guilt? Did she ever truly love me like a father? Or was I just a placeholder? A convenient stand-in for a man she never really had? I started therapy. His name's Dr. Raymond Cole. Older guy, patient eyes. Doesn't rush me. He says what I'm feeling is trauma. Betrayal trauma, identity crisis, emotional fracture. All those clinical terms that don't mean much until he explains them. But honestly, some of it actually helps. He's guiding me through the anger, the loss, the wreckage of a life I thought I was building, only to find out it was all smoke and mirrors. Some days I feel like I'm making progress. I journal, I breathe, I walk, I try to focus on what's still within my control. But then I'll pass a dad and daughter in the grocery store, laughing over snacks, and it floors me. Or I'll drive past that Mexican place Vanessa used to love, and I'll feel my chest cave in. Or I'll open a drawer looking for batteries and find one of Lily's old soccer medals. And I'll be right back at square one. The guilt, the grief, the second guessing. Did I go too far? Did I break something that still had a chance to heal? Vanessa's lawyer has been contacting me. At first, it was polite, just talk about joint assets. Now the tone's shifted. Now it's threats. Legal action unless I return her half of the money. And every part of me wants to fight. Not because I want the money, but because I want her to feel it. I want her to struggle just a little with the weight of what she did. Why should I make it easy for them? Why should I hand anything back to the woman who stole years of my life? Or the girl who helped her keep the secret? But there's this other voice inside me. Smaller, quieter, just tired. Tired of fighting. Tired of hurting. Lily's been emailing me. Long messages. Pages of apologies. Memories. Promises. Pouring her heart out. Begging me to let her come home. She says she'll do anything. Whatever it takes. Reading those words feels like pressing down on a bruise that never healed. Because no matter what she did, she was still my little girl once. The one who'd wait for me on the porch after work. The one who nearly burned down the kitchen trying to make Father's Day pancakes when she was 13. I haven't written back. Not because I don't care, but because I honestly don't know what to say. How do you respond to someone who calls you dad? And broke your heart. Even my own family's divided on all this. My mom's furious. You gave that woman everything. She told me on the phone last week, her voice trembling. And that girl? She let you live a lie for 2 years. She might not be your blood, but she owed you honesty. My dad? He's been quieter, but I know where he stands. We were fixing up the garage last weekend when he finally said, "You put in the love, the time, the work. You don't owe them anything. They didn't value what you gave them," my dad said. Don't let them keep dragging you down. But not everyone saw it that way. My sister, she had a different take. We met for coffee a few days after it all came crashing down. "You're being too harsh, Pat," she said gently. "Especially with Lily." I didn't say anything right away. Just stared into my coffee as the steam curled toward the ceiling. "She's not your daughter," she went on. "Not biologically. and Vanessa put her in an impossible spot. That one hit me deep, not because it wasn't true, but because it made me feel like I didn't count. Like biology was the only thing that made someone family. Like everything I'd done for Lily didn't matter. That's exactly what makes this worse, I finally said. I chose to love her. I didn't have to. I wasn't just some guy passing through. I was there. Every moment. Every milestone. I stepped up because I wanted to be her dad. And she still chose to lie. She's just a kid, my sister said, more softly this time. She panicked. You've been the only real father she's ever known, Pat. Don't you think that scared her to lose that? I looked down again. She reached across the table and placed her hand over mine. I'm not saying what she did was right, she continued. But people react differently when they're afraid. And you know what? Maybe she was right. At least a little. I can understand the fear, the pressure, the confusion. I can even understand why Lily kept the secret. But understanding isn't the same as forgetting. And it sure as hell isn't the same as trusting again. Even if I found it in me to forgive her someday, how would I ever trust her again? How would I know she wouldn't cave the next time her mom whispered something in her ear? And Vanessa? What's to stop her from finding the next Blake or Jason or whoever the hell he really was? No. I had to draw the line somewhere. So I started to move forward. The first step? I hired a lawyer. One with teeth. We filed for divorce, irreconcilable differences. Because, let's be honest, there was nothing left to reconcile. I didn't even want to sit across from Vanessa, let alone try to repair something that had already been reduced to ashes. I returned half of the money I took from the joint account. Not because she earned it, but because I didn't want her spinning a sob story in court. I was done giving her easy ways to play the victim. Then I made the hardest decision of all. I closed Lily's college fund. That account had grown slowly year after year. Birthday checks from my folks. Bonuses from work. Spare cash I tucked away because I wanted her to have every chance I never did. I'd built that fund with love. With hope. And I drained it. Every cent. It felt like slicing off a part of myself, but I did it anyway. Because I couldn't keep investing in a future built on lies. When I told my lawyer, he sighed. Don't expect justice, he said, flipping through my file. This state's no fault. A woman can cheat for years and still walk away with half. I clenched my jaw. So what's the point of proving anything? He looked me dead in the eye. There isn't one. You're not here to win. You're here to protect what's left. And he was right. The court didn't want to hear the details. They just split everything 50-50ths. The house. The savings. The investments. Even the car I bought last year with my own damn bonus. It was all on the table. The only silver lining? Vanessa made slightly more than I did. Which meant no alimony. Neither of us would pay the other a dime. As for child support? Off the table. Lily was legally an adult now. The court couldn't touch it. Still, Vanessa clung to the wreckage like she thought it could still float. She begged for counseling. Her lawyer even requested court-ordered therapy. Said we owed it to the family. I nearly laughed when I heard that. During the hearing, she stood up and said, Your Honor, I believe counseling could help. We've been married for over 10 years. A bond like that doesn't just disappear. I turned to my lawyer and whispered it disappeared the day she let Blake into our bed. When it was my turn, I stood steadier than I thought I'd be and said, Counseling won't change anything. This marriage is dead. We're not on the same page about what vows even mean. I kept mine. She didn't. So, with all due respect, I want this over. No more delays. No more band-aids. Vanessa looked like I'd slapped her. And honestly, I didn't feel bad. Then came Lily. She stood, holding a written statement that shook in her hands. I don't want our family to fall apart, she said softly. I know mistakes were made, but I still believe there's love here. I don't want to lose either of them. And for a moment, I almost did. I saw her as the little girl again, curled up on my chest, watching Finding Nemo on repeat. But then I remembered. She'd known. She had known. And she helped her mom keep that lie alive for 2 years. When the judge turned to me for a response, I didn't flinch. Your Honor, I said clearly, our family already fell apart. It shattered the moment trust became optional, something to hand out or hide when convenient. Lily may not want to lose me, but the man she remembers, the one who would have fought to hold this family together, he's gone. I paused, met Lily's eyes. She knows why. She's not a kid anymore. Lily broke. Tears streamed down her face as she lowered her statement and walked slowly back to her seat. The judge looked like he'd seen 1,000 stories just like ours and probably had. He must have been in his 70s, with tired eyes that still held a sharpness, like nothing surprised him anymore. He rested both hands on the bench and looked around the courtroom. His gaze lingered on Vanessa. I've seen this kind of case more times than I can count, he said, calm but firm. Infidelity. Secrets. Families torn apart. And regret, well, that usually shows up too late. He paused, letting the weight of his words hang in the air. Mrs. Maddox, he said, his tone shifting slightly, there are times when you have to recognize when something's truly over. There's no saving face. No neat ending tied up with a bow. What's done is done. You might be chasing closure or redemption, but this courtroom isn't where you'll find it. Vanessa opened her mouth, maybe to argue. But he lifted a hand. Stop. Just move on, he said, his voice like a closed door. There's nothing to gain from dragging this out. Then he raised his gavel. Thunk. This divorce is approved. And just like that, it was over. For a moment, the room felt suspended in silence. Like the air itself was holding its breath. 10 years of marriage, betrayal, and heartbreak summed up in a single sentence and a knock of wood. I didn't know what freedom was supposed to feel like, but as I walked out of that courtroom, I felt something strange. Not peace. Not joy. Just lighter. Like someone had carved a piece of weight out of me. Hollowed out the ache, but left the wound. But freedom doesn't mean healing. And it sure as hell doesn't mean silence. The calls started almost immediately. Vanessa's parents, especially her mom, left long, emotional voicemails. Some were crying fits. Others? Angry rants. Ethan, how could you? She wept in one of them. Vanessa is shattered. Lily won't come out of her room. You've destroyed this family. Destroyed it? No. I just stopped pretending it wasn't already broken. At first, I picked up the phone. Tried to explain. Tried to give them context. But they didn't want context. They wanted a scapegoat. So I stopped answering. Eventually, I blocked the number. I was done. But Walter, Vanessa's father, didn't take the hint. One morning, I walked outside and found him standing at the end of my driveway. Arms crossed. Staring me down like he was guarding something. Ethan, he barked as I locked the front door behind me. I sighed. What the hell are you doing here, Walter? He stepped forward, eyes full of fire. What kind of heartless bastard are you? Vanessa's barely eating. Lily's talking about dropping out of school. They're broken, and it's all your fault. That was it. Something snapped in me. I stepped right up to him, close enough to watch the color drain from his face. But I didn't touch him. I didn't have to. No, I said, quiet but firm. This is what happens when people make choices. Vanessa made hers. She brought another man into our marriage. She destroyed her home. Not me. He tried to speak again, but I cut him off. And Lily? She knew. She knew what was going on for 2 years. And she said nothing. She's just a kid, he shouted. No, Walter. She's a grown woman who chose to stand beside her mom and lie to me. And now she's dealing with the fallout of those choices. I leaned in slightly, eyes locked on his. And you? You're standing on my lawn, trying to intimidate me like that changes the facts. He froze. I could tell he wasn't used to being called out like this. So I gave him one more warning. Let me make this simple, old man, I said. I don't enjoy threatening senior citizens. But if you were my age, this would be a different conversation. His face went ghost white. If you ever show up near me again, my house, my job, anywhere, I will file a harassment report. And I will follow through. I stepped back and pointed toward the street. Go home, Walter. Don't push your luck. He didn't say a word. Just turned and walked off. Guess the message finally landed. After that, things went quiet. No texts. No voicemails. No surprise visits. For a few days, it was eerily calm. I made myself a real dinner for the first time in weeks. Steak, roasted potatoes, a glass of red. No noise but the sound of slow jazz spinning on the record player. Just me and the quiet. Then my phone rang. It was my mom. I answered, cautious. Hey. Her voice was soft. Too soft. Ethan, she said slowly. I just got off the phone with Vanessa's mom. I sat up a little straighter. She's in the hospital. They've admitted her. My grip on the phone tightened. She tried to hurt herself, Mom continued gently. They've got her under observation now. She's on medication. She's not stable. Those were the words my mother said after a long pause. I closed my eyes, letting them settle like a heavy weight across my chest. I didn't know what I was supposed to feel. Anger? Sadness? Pity? She went on. Said Lily hasn't been eating. That she's lost weight. That she won't talk to anyone. I let out a slow breath, pressing my thumb against my temple. What do they want from me? I asked quietly. My mom didn't answer right away. Then she said, calm but firm, I already told them to back off. Told them karma's a bitch and hung up the phone. Before I could respond, she added, take care of yourself, Ethan, and hung up. I just sat there. Phone still in my hand. Staring into space. A bitter smile slowly crept across my face. There it was. The universe doing what it does best, balancing the scale. Consequences. Finally. But even with that twisted grin on my face, something in my chest turned over. I didn't feel sorry for Vanessa, not really. She'd made her bed. But Lily, that was a different story. That pain lived in a deeper part of me. Because part of me still remembered the girl with missing teeth and bandaged knees clutching me after a bad dream. I raised her. I loved her like my own. And some old, stubborn piece of my heart wanted to go to her. Wrap her in a blanket. Tell her she was safe. That things would be okay. But just as that instinct rose, another voice cut through it. The same cold, steady voice that had kept me from unraveling. She knew. She chose. She stood in the shadow of a lie and helped it grow. Not once. Not twice. But for 2 years. And now? Now the lie had turned on her. Swallowed her whole. Just like my mother said. Karma doesn't need a warning shot. It just shows up.